Good old church folks. Let's talk about good old church folks. Not good God folks, but good old church folks. Good old church folks will always be just good church folks. Somebody might be, well, what you talking about? Just because you dedicated to going to church, which a lot of people are, every time the church doors open, they are there. They sing in the choirs. They participate in everything the church have to do. Then in the South, good old church folk love singing. So a lot of them sing in groups and stuff. Church over on Sunday, Saturday night they out singing. Sunday night they somewhere singing in a group or in a choir or in a performance choir. Good old church folk. They love all the aspect of going to church. But that don't necessarily mean they are God's folks. They do all the things pertaining to the act of being in church, but they lack the values of being a Christian. I know this to be true personally. A few years ago, I was out there in Denver, outside of Denver, Colorado, heading back home, heading east. No, I wasn't heading home. I was heading somewhere else. I got a phone call from my mom-in-law telling me that my wife was involved in an accident, head-on accident, right there, coming into town where we live at, right there in Mississippi. My mom-in-law called saying my wife had been hit in a head-on accident. She is being flown to the hospital in Memphis. The person that my wife was involved in the accident with, I know them people. I didn't know who it was right off, but now I was headed home because I had an appointment for the next day at my barbershop. And I called them. I had to cancel. Man, my wife been involved in an accident. She was hit up there. She said, "Oh, that's your wife?" Then he started talking. That's who they talking about. That's who the girl that my wife was involved in an accident with. After he started talking, I know them. They know us. They know me, rather. Good old church folks. We all grew up in the country churches. They churches would come to our church, and our church they sing in groups. So I knew them on a very pretty much personal level. Church folks play music, play guitars, play every aspect of the church. They do it. But when that accident happened between a daughter and my wife, they did not demonstrate any kind of Christian values. They immediately went into, before they found out what really happened, all they heard was an accident. All they know, their daughter was involved in an accident. And I got word that when they found out about the accident, that they immediately started talking. I'm going to sue. I'm going to sue. Who hit my, I'm going to sue. That's all they were concerned about. Suing. They saw an accident and they got happy. They got mad and they got happy. They got mad because somebody hit their daughter. Then they got happy because they figured they were finna get a lawsuit. They didn't even, they wasn't, from what I told from the get-go, they wasn't even concerned about nothing but somebody hit their daughter and they were trying to find out, he was trying to find out who we were, went to the barbershop and trying to find out who we were, who I were, so I'm finna sue, trying to get information immediately so they can call a lawyer, file a lawsuit. Didn't know. Didn't take the time to find out what happened. All they was concerned about was their daughter. Now, these Christian folks, now keep this in mind, these church folks, about my age, a little older, very involved in church, do everything, revivals, every Sunday evening church, Sunday morning, they in the choir, they do it all, husband and wife, do it all. Know how country folks is religious about going to church, city folks do. They go to church, love church. But throughout this process, they did not exemplify any Christian values. They thought, they assumed, they jumped the gun and assumed that somebody hit their daughter and they finna get a lawsuit. They finna sue, because that's what I was told immediately. He went into the barbershop trying to find some information, started talking. Because we went to the same barbershop. We just didn't have the same barber, but we went to know him, knew me, know me. But fast forward, lo and behold, it was found out that their daughter was in the wrong. Their daughter was driving down the highway, distracted, driving in the opposite lane. When they found out their daughter was negligent, they disappeared. Thank God she was driving something like an SUV, or my wife was driving an Impala, which sit lower to the ground. So she was hit head on, but the SUV counter went over the car. My wife's car, which made her flip over. She actually flipped over. My wife's car went down off in the ditch. But the SUV she was driving flipped over in the middle of the road. She was driving. She had a younger brother in there on the passenger side. She was at fault. So About a week passed or so. I got home like the next day or so, and I went to the hospital. My wife was in. It took me like the next day or something, next evening to get home. My wife was in the hospital, and I was talking to her and stuff like that. But when they found out that their daughter was in the wrong, she received a ticket, some type of citation. I still to this day, I want to press charges against her. Just the simple fact because of her parents, the way they acted through the situation. They when the process started rolling, getting a lawyer, filing a lawsuit, it took us a minute to find out. Yeah, they had insurance. She was negligent. Then they started running. We hired a lawyer firm out of Memphis, well-known lawyer firm out of Memphis, Corey B. Now, my wife suffered way more damage than the girl suffered, even though the girl flipped over, but she was in like an SUV. When the girl hit my wife, the gas pedal kind of jammed her foot, her right foot. So right to the day, she's suffering. She can't walk on her right foot because her ankle got severely twisted, pretty much fractured. And her wrist got hurt due to the steering wheel turning, right? And this was about 8, 9 years ago. But right to the day, my wife's wrist is not the same, and her ankle didn't heal properly, definitely not the same. But when the lawyer started trying to contact them through their insurance company, they would not respond. They tried their best to hide. They did all they could do to keep from coming forward. Now, from the get-go, they saw dollar signs where they thought that somebody else was in the fault, was in the wrong. But when they found out that they was in the wrong, then suddenly they got quiet and disappeared and started hiding. The lawyers, the attorney, had to threaten them several times before they finally came forward. And it was the girl brother that finally came forward and admitted that, yeah, she was wrong. She was distracted. She wasn't even paying attention to the road. She was evidently that she was messing with her phone. Hadn't been driving too long. So from the get-go, they didn't ever try to express any type of remorse about what happened. Even if it was the other way around, either way it go, they did not, by them being good church folks, knowing who we were, they never expressed any type of remorse, concern. I know that it took a minute before them to come forward, like a couple of weeks. So in between the time, I heard that they were going to church. They went to church trying to paint a picture that their daughter was hit head on by somebody, And you know how church folk get people on their side. Ooh, girl, they were giving testimonies about how their daughter was in an accident. She was fine, and she was this. She was fine. It was okay. From my understanding, her or her parent never expressed any type of sympathy towards my wife. They was at church testifying about how God protected their daughter in an accident. So if they said that much, I'm sure at First Baptist Coldwater, my wife was the suspect. See what I'm saying? They were thanking God for their daughter being okay, but never expressed any type of symptom of remorse or praying for my wife to be okay. Now, this before they found out that their daughter was at fault. When the accident happened, it took about 2 or 3 weeks for the truth to come out. In the police report and everything. The daughter was driving down the wrong side of the road. Her brother finally admitted that she was wrong. But they tried to hide from being responsible because the insurance, their daughter was driving on the insurance that was in their name. So they automatically negligent. So this just go to show you that good old church folk ain't necessarily God folk. Even to this, my wife, the lawyers finally convinced them to come forward, and they did, reluctantly. Now, even after they found out that their daughter was at fault, right to this day, they still haven't tried to reach out to us and express any type of remorse about what happened. Right to this day, know us. All them people know us. I know them well. See them. I know the parent. The daughter don't know me. The daughter graduated with my oldest son, I think. Or well, a year behind him or something. But see them all the time. The parents can't help but to run into them and their kin folks all the time. They know us. Cedric Young, Coldwater, Sentosa. The daughter grown now. The daughter named Genesis. Ran over my wife. But they ran and hid when they found out their daughter was at fault. Because they didn't want to be sued through the insurance. They didn't want to be sued and dropped. We end up getting a little settlement for like $20-some thousand. But let me tell y'all something. I don't care how much money an accident is worth. I don't care if it's in the hundred thousands, millions. I would turn that money down in a heartbeat for things to go back to normal. If I had a choice, take this money, or you want your wife whole, you want you whole, which would you take? To see my wife suffering from a something that gonna last her the rest of her life with her ankle and her wrist. Her wrists have gotten a lot better, but it's still arthritis setting in, everything. I would turn any amount of money down in a heartbeat for being whole again. People value money. I don't care nothing about no money. When you have to sit there and thank God, this all I have to look at with my wife, her ankle, but that's enough. You don't want to see your loved ones suffering in pain and whatnot. Their life done been altered over accident. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to see that no matter how accident happened. I didn't really hold it against the girl. I hold it against her parents to this day because they still haven't expressed any remorse. But like I told my wife, if the shoe had been on the other foot, we would have had to move out of Senatobia because everybody they know would be attacking my wife and us. We wouldn't be able to go nowhere. Suppose somebody had died. Suppose the accident had took somebody's life and my wife was at fault. You think we would be able to live in peace and harmony down there? Nope. And them church folk, right to this day, they still haven't, that's what I told my wife, that bothers me that they still haven't reached out to us to express any type of sentiment of remorse. And these are church folk. That's what I told my wife. I said, where is God at? They only concerned about them. Theirs. They don't give a damn about us. Even after they found out their daughter was at fault, they still don't care. And they show how much they care because they went and hid. They did not want to come forward. But these good old church folks, they at church every Sunday, every Wednesday, every time the church have the doors open, they are there, dedicated, in the choirs, on the usher boards. I know this. They be at them church programs on Sunday night singing, playing guitars, acting like they got the Holy Ghost. But nobody in that group ever told them to reach out to us, even afterwards. That bothers me right to this day, knowing that these are church folks. Understand world folk, church folks though. And this the way they act. Their religion is selfish, only concerned about them. Somebody wronged them, then it's a problem. But when they wrong somebody, oh, well, don't worry about it. It'll wash over. I know how us black folk people act. They know way more people, got way more brothers. So I already know my wife wouldn't be able to go nowhere. Senatobia, Walmart, be seen nowhere without being attacked, verbally attacked, or probably straight up assaulted over an accident. Then the pastor and people in the church, a lot of times people in the church are just church folk. Everybody in church folk just because they don't push God. Okay, the accident happened. Have y'all reached out to the victim, to the family? So I told my wife. I told my I wonder when they found out that their daughter was at fault, did they go back to church and tell the truth about what happened? Did they go back to church and ask for prayer for my wife after they found out what happened? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Because they had already put up to persona It made everybody think that they were wrong and they finna sue, but that's the way they act. But when they found out wrong, they didn't say nothing. I bet you right today, a lot of them people at them church, a lot of people that know them don't know the final story to that accident because it will make them look bad. Good old church folks will always be church folks, not God's folks.